Hey guys, we did it. 9 weeks of chakra after chakra after chakra after chakra. And oh my goodness, how are you faring after that once in a blue moon? What happened for you on that once in a blue moon? Because holy McMoly, what a few days it has been over that full moon, right? Oh my goodness, I reckon that's how it feels. Like, oh my gosh, could write a book about just the weekend. Is that how it is for you? I'm really curious. I'm really curious. Tell me, as I open this up so that we can commence our integration consciousness. And as always, going to share this. It is super windy outside. I just saw someone say, who else is thinking and wanting to get the Christmas tree up? So interesting, like Christmas tree has been very in my awareness and in other people's awarenesses, and I'm wondering if it's because we've been on lockdown and had the year that we've had, we're all like, okay, Christmas is here, good, can we do Christmas now? Because I think we need some fun or something. Kind of how it feels, yeah? All right, let me get this happening because it's taking its time to load. Coffee time. And really windy outside today. So that's why I'm inside. I was going to do it outside, and then of course the wind started and I'm like, okay. All right. There's been a lot of activity over this blue moon, hey? Earthquakes, typhoons, all sorts of things around the world. And you know what? I feel like it's only just ramping up. I'm going to do an energy update later this week because, yeah, it's coming. As I kept saying all this year, I'm like, the worst hasn't happened yet. And you know what? Still, I'm like, worst hasn't happened yet, guys. I really feel that. Unfortunately, hasn't happened yet. All right, awesome. We are good to go for our integration consciousness. So there's a thing that happens on integration week, right? Oh, let's put that on mute. And it's something that so the integration consciousness is basically, you know, how we've been in like crown or third eye or ears or throat or heart or, you know, all the chakras. On integration week, we're basically going through a day, a chakra. Yeah, we're going through all the chakras. So, you know, Monday is crown, Tuesday is third eye, Wednesday is ears, and we go through like that. However, the thing that happens on integration consciousness is that if there's a particular chakra that is needing your attention more on integration week, it will feel like you are in that chakra all week, right? So say, for example, your heart needs more attention. On integration consciousness, you'll be in heart chakra week all week. Does that make sense? Yeah, so be really mindful about which chakra comes to mind for you over integration week, so over this next week. So this is our last week of all the chakras that we've gone through. If you would like to rewatch all of, you know, the chakras we've been through over the past 8 weeks going into our 9th week, or if you haven't ever watched them before, send me a message and I'll send you the link to the page that has all of the replays on there in order. And I'm curious if you guys are already feeling like there's a particular chakra that's in your awareness on integration week already, or it might have kind of started yesterday. The thing that I also want to bring to your awareness for integration week is that with, you know, it could be a particular chakra, like I said, right? But it also, I feel, is on integration week is like the main big issue that you've been trying to work on, or you have been working on, or that you've been knowing you need to work on will be in your awareness. Now, that might not relate to a specific chakra in particular. Like, of course, we could always relate it to a particular chakra because usually every issue goes to a specific chakra, right? However, the sense that I'm getting for you guys is that it could be a long-standing issue. It could be a long-standing way of being. So say, for example, you have like been a certain way for your entire life, right? Like that's just who you are. However, you've been doing a lot of work and you've been changing and you're like, wow, I'm just not that person anymore. And then at integration week, it kind of like hits and you're like, you know, even in a particular chakra, you might have like had those issues or behaviors come up again of like, well, you know, like that's surfacing again. You're like, but I'm not that person anymore, but I was just acting like it. And what happens is that when you say you're a particular type of person, it's just who you are, and then you have a spiritual awakening and you do all this work and you're like, wow, I'm not that person anymore. And then it kind of hits to a point, you like jump back to this person and you're like, what's going on? Like you're that person, but you're also conscious. You're like, wow, I haven't been like this for ages and I'm not this person anymore. And what is going on? Like what is happening is that as we've worked through the chakras each week, yeah, and we've become conscious of all the things that we've worked through, yeah, when we get to integration, it's a complete being shift. In a sense of like we go through the crown and the third eye, and each of those chakras has a specific play into in our reality, right? Like, you know, in our relationships, it's all about third eye. And so when we go through the chakra consciousness journey, we hit the third eye and we're like, whoa, like that's not a truth I want to live anymore. And this is actually who I am and blah, blah, blah. And so as we go through, we've like created all these different aspects of our being. We've shifted in person, yeah? And so at integration week, it's like it finally all comes together. And so if you have a rewind into the person who you're not at that person anymore, know that what's actually happening is as you've brought all of these new peoples that you are, new person, into integration week through everything that you've worked through and been through and become conscious of, you're like this person now. And so there's no energetic room for this person anymore. And so what can happen is because all of this new person is here at integration week, that old person kind of gets pushed out. And as it's getting pushed out, it surfaces again and you're like, whoa, I'm not this person anymore. Like what's happening? Like, you know, and you're conscious of it. Yeah. But what's happening is it's pushing out of your system. Yeah. And so there's nothing wrong with you. You haven't gone backwards. You haven't taken 10 steps forwards and 50 steps backwards. You haven't done that. What's happening is that on integration week and at base chakra week, so you might have felt it over the weekend as we've like led into integration week, is that at the base, what do I say? We're birthing new realities, right? So we're birthing a new part of who we're birthing a new person that we are. And so when we're coming into that new person that we are, again, the old person gets shifted out, okay? So yeah, so I'm really curious how you guys are faring up with this integration. So Fiona says, I felt quite emotional for a few days before the moon, but feeling so good now. Yeah, awesome. Hi, Sean. So when we're looking at this, right, and again, like, you know, people are like, oh, you shouldn't like feel your emotions. And I'm like, you shouldn't sit in your emotions. And I'm like, man, when you're in it, you're feeling it and you're shifting it. The worst thing that you want to do is suppress it, yeah? And by not feeling is suppressing, right? And we can be conscious feeling, right? The thing about sitting in the emotions is like, you know, beating yourself up or thinking that you shouldn't be feeling this way or, you know, that sort of thing, yeah? So Philomena says she feels like she has gone backwards. Okay, did you just join this live stream? Because I just explained about that, so I don't want to repeat myself. But it says, I think you just joined? I don't know, if you can just let me know. Because everything that I was just sharing, I'm like, explains how you haven't gone backwards. And what's actually happening in that point, yeah? All right, so what is specific about integration that I want to teach? So, or that wants to be shared. What is the message that wants to be shared? Yeah, so please watch the replay because I just explained that. You like just came in on that bit when I just finished explaining it. So please watch the replay. Super important, super important. So with integration, like I said, anything that you haven't dealt with, or a chakra that needs more attention, or an issue that you've been working on, will be like in your awareness and integration. But it's because you're coming through with an entirely new being, an entirely new perspective of consciousness of who you are, and you're bringing it to this new space, right? And so the old is cleared out. Now we see a different perspective in our relationships. We see a different perspective in everything that we relate to and are and connect with in the world. And when we are able to, like, you know, people say to me, oh, so there's 9 chakras. And I'm like, well, no, there's 8 chakras that I specifically work with and teach people. The 9th one is an integration. Yeah. So it's like a combination of all the chakras in one that actually allows you to, you know, tend to a particular chakra, like I said, or give that one more support, or enable you to have a deeper perspective, and like integrate all the learning that you've just gone through, and implement and integrate everything that you've just shifted through, right? It's so important to allow that integration time, but sometimes it can feel like we're revisiting old patterns or old selves or things that we thought we'd shifted. And this is when I say you haven't gone backwards, like it's coming up and out. Yeah. And you're also seeing these behaviors and seeing this like perspective of you with a different perspective, with a different perception. Yeah. Like that's a big piece of it, because you're not that person anymore, but you're super conscious that you aren't that person anymore. Whereas back here, you weren't conscious of that. You were just that person, right? And so when we become conscious of those behaviors that are actually not us, or actually not in alignment anymore, we're viewing them, we're observing them, and that gives rise for them to shift out and for us to become that different person. We get to a point where we can choose to behave a different way. We can get to choose to not be that person anymore. But when it does surface, it's literally flowing up and out. Hey, Tamsin. Right, do you guys have any questions about integration in itself? Because the other aspect that happens in the integration consciousness is we come into balance. Yeah, so as we've gone through each of the chakras, yeah, all the past weeks, hey Deborah, that, you know how I always say, like, each chakra has more of a dominance of masculine or feminine. So whilst they both have masculine and feminine aspects within them, like they have, like, you know, so the crown is more, you know, feminine, this is more masculine, this is more feminine, this is more masculine, this is more feminine, this is more masculine, this is more feminine, and the base is more masculine. So each time we go like through this, we're in more of the dominance of either masculine or feminine, like I said, even though they've got both within it. At integration consciousness, we come into balance. We come into divine balance of each of the chakras, masculine and feminine balances in the in integration, right? So over this next week, you might find, like, you know, yourself wanting to, or even starting to do naturally, masculine or feminine healing. Again, whichever one comes up will be like a, you know, what one you're needing to work on more so. It might be about actually bringing them into balance. So maybe you have done lots of mother healing, or maybe you have done lots of, you know, father healing, and either one of those comes into play, but you're actually like working them into integration, into a balance. Yeah. So with working with the masculine or feminine balance, you might find that structures in your life change. That's working with the masculine. So perhaps there is a masculine aspect to you, or a physical representation of that actually doesn't resonate with you anymore, or it's not in your life anymore, or some aspect of your routine in your life has changed. The masculine is about support, structure, stability, consistency, discipline, doing, actioning, right? So you might be actioning different structures in your life. There might be a difference in energy into how you are being in the world. Perhaps you're coming into your feminine more because you've worked on the abuse from the what is it called, the masculine, and so we're coming into more of the feminine and being able to be that, or if you're masculine, vice versa. Yeah, so you're coming into a balance. So it's tricky to describe, but it's literally like the physical shifts can really happen through integration week, right? So in the feminine, it's really looking at, are you feeling comfortable to receive, but are you feeling comfortable to be yourself? Are you actually able to voice the needs of your true self? Are you actually able to completely have the full essence of who you are show up in presence in the structure of your body in all that you are every single day, right? Because the feminine is deeply connected to your intuition, to your heart. It's that nurturing, it's that energy of that softness. And it's also the fullness of who you are. Yeah, because that divine essence of love, which exists in every person, is the feminine. Yeah, even in a man, they also have that, right? Again, this is where we've got both within us, yeah, both within each chakra, but we're either one or more. So like a woman is more feminine and the masculine is more masculine, but we've both got both, right? Energies within us. So Tamsin says integration. Number 8 is so strong. Infinite flow. Yes, definitely. Tamsin says, and 11, manifesting rapidly and so aware of the infinite ebb and flow of emitting and receiving. Yeah, it's like a pulsation. Yeah, it's a pulsation of energy. Like, so it's like the inflow, the outflow. It's like this pulsation. Yeah, and when that's like when we look at that. And I don't know if you saw like me post the snakes the other day and the Kundalini. It was like that constantly like in out, like twisting around. It's very, very about the balance. It's very, very interesting to be able to see that. All right, so masculine and feminine healing, deep in integration week, but also the essence of who you are shifting to match that, shifting to match the next level version of you, being able to really implement and create different structures in your life. So yeah, you love that. The snakes is pretty spectacular to see that. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so I'm just seeing what else there was there about. Okay, so at integration week, there is a deep clarity of who you are, right? It's coming into the essence of who you are. At integration week, it is really a deep aspect of allowing yourself to, again, have that full expression. Now you might be like, well, that's like throat chakra, Hannah. And it's like, well, remember at the throat, it's not just speaking your truth, it's also living it. Yeah. So we're living down in our body the aspect and the essence of who we are. Now, is the essence of who you are fear, scarcity, not trusting, freaking out all the time, stressed out all the time, burnt out all the time, wondering why it's not happening? Like, is that the essence of you? No. The essence of you is deeply present, calm, trusting, in alignment, at peace, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, but always at peace underneath. There's a different energy to you, and it's also living in abundance and also accepting that as your natural state. So sometimes people try and achieve or want, and whilst that's important, it helps us move forward in life. But when we realize the true essence and nature of who we are, it is that of abundance. It is that of deep contentment, right? And when we can tap into that, because in essence, that's your soul. And your soul is always connected to you, but you're just disconnected. You're unconscious of the connection to your soul. So the more that you can create the conscious connection to your soul, the more you're going to receive abundance, contentment, calm, trusting energy as your natural state. Anything else outside of that is something that you have learned is something that has been put on you from the outside, so to speak, right? Whether through trauma or through situations in your life that have created belief systems and structures, yeah? So if you are not anything, like if you are anything but that trustworthy, abundance is your natural state, like you should be able to walk outside and see abundance, right? Forget about your house for a minute. You can do that too. But you should be able to walk outside and see abundance everywhere. An abundance of cars, an abundance of ocean water, an abundance of sky, an abundance of birds, an abundance of grass, an abundance of roads, an abundance of people walking around. Maybe not if you're in the country, but there's an abundance of hills. If you're not seeing that, you are not connected to your soul. Now you might be like, why is that even important, Hannah? It's like, well, if you're not seeing abundance, you're not connected to your soul. And if you're seeing lack and scarcity and all the negative about the hills or the roads, or oh, well, that road shouldn't be there, it should be, it should be something else. You are implementing what's been imprinted on you, that you should be something else and you shouldn't be who you are right now because that's not good enough. That is not the true essence of who you are. And you have never been disconnected from the true essence of who you are. The true essence of who you are is your soul, and your soul has always been there for you. And it is your willingness to connect to your soul that is your lifeline to abundance. That is your lifeline to what's going to save your life, right? So often we are entangled in the web of what we've been brought up in, or society is still pumping into us. Do this or you're not good enough, right? And if you're still connected to that, you haven't trained yourself to stay connected to your soul over everything else. If 10 positive things happen today and one negative thing happened today, what are you focusing on? Probably the negative thing. When you can train yourself to look for the 10 positive things before you go to sleep, and as soon as you wake up, you're going to start to create a different life. But it comes from the willingness for you to implement, that's the masculine, to implement in your daily reality, in your mind, the masculine connecting to the feminine. You being the willingness and the action to connect to the feminine of who you are. Masculine and feminine balance. It is a relationship that goes on inside you. And if these aren't active, then you're going to be more over this side, or you're going to be more over this side. You're going to be out of balance. Therefore, going down into the negative cycles and seeing lack and scarcity, or seeing abundance and deep peace and contentment. And this is almost a slower pace in a way, but it's a more contented pace. It's not really in essence, because in essence it's more of a higher vibration. This is slower and denser, but it seems more rapid because it's chaotic, and it's like that's what traps us and that's what keeps us in the negative spiral. But this is more peaceful. When we are leaving this relationship to come over here, it's a process. And it's just like leaving a narcissist relationship. It's just like leaving an unhealthy, toxic situation, no matter what it is. But this is a relationship going on inside of yourself. And the relationships outside of yourself in your reality are just a reflection of what's going on inside of you. And when you can start to see that these people in your life that are like in this negative space and pulling you down with them, it's just an aspect of you not actually being willing to step over to this side and connect into this side, then you're the only one that can save you. You're not stuck. You're not going backwards. It's your willingness to keep going in the way that feels foreign. Because it will feel foreign in the start because it's not here. And it is a brain training to remove every single negative aspect, negative thought. If it comes in, sorry, closing the door on that today. The beautiful sunshine is nourishing my soul. Yeah. This is a little bit different to feeling it to healing it. It's not about avoiding the negative situations, negative emotions, sorry. But it is about choosing and knowing that you're walking forward no matter what's surfacing. And that sometimes when you've been on this path for a while and negative feelings do surface, like I said in the start of this live stream, if the old you returns, you're doing it with consciousness because it's coming up and out. You're not back here with this unconsciousness of that's just who you are. Yeah? So Tamsin says, can I ask, do you get itchy tattoos at any point in time? And if you do, what do you feel that implies? Not really. I don't get itchy with them, but sometimes the energy is like woof, woof, woof. Like I'm like, whoa. Definitely. And for me, I've learnt that my tattoos have different messages for me. This is what I've noticed over time, because I've gone through cycles like this. And it's like they speak to me, a bit like intuition, speaks to you. And so these usually, when they are doing that, it's like deeply connected to the goddess, because that's what these are. But it's also, sometimes they're warning me of stuff coming up. Other times it's a strong message about something. So again, just like your intuition, it's also learning the relationship that you have with your tattoos and what they mean, just like our intuition. Yeah. So I'd explore that a bit deeper for yourself, for sure. So integration is where we really take back our power. Integration is where we become that new version of ourselves, because we have worked through each of these chakras. Yeah. Even if you started at the heart chakra and you've just done the lower four, integration is integrating the lower four that you've worked on. Yeah. And so there's no right or wrong. It could be all of them. It could be one of them. It could be integration, you're working on your third eye again, or it could be this whole balance of everything that you've become, and realizing that people in your reality need to shift in or out, or you need to shift in or out, or being able to implement a different structure to be able to support the new version of you that's coming through. Yeah. Yeah, might be your internet. I think it's been fine on this end. Can watch the replay. Usually the replays are okay. If your internet's good, that is, doesn't stop stopping. All right. Is there anything else that wants to come through with integration? So the other thing that you can do as well, if you're not sure about this week, just really allow yourself to be present. Just allow yourself to be present. Notice what shifts, what changes. The other thing that you can do is work on a chakra day, right? And of course, it's going to be a little bit more than a week, but it'd be like crown chakra today, third eye tomorrow, ears the next day, throat the next day. So it can be quite intense because we're collapsing time and coming down to a day of chakra. So it can be intense. But when you are, watching, like going through each of the days, you can also be conscious that on each of the days as you go over the week, even if you're not consciously asking each chakra, it might still be occurring. Or, like I said, it might be just a big chunk of getting into who you are and integrating that and becoming that person, that next level version of you. Or it could be literally coming into that balance. But again, it does come back to the structures. I say the balance, but that is integrating the part of who you are, like almost the divine balance of the masculine and feminine is the process that allows us to become the next level version of us, to become that person that was unconscious, and we've done all this spiritual work, and then we've become this person that we're not that person anymore, that we're like, oh, the divine balance of working through each of the masculine and feminine is the process in a way. So it's all hand in hand. All right. Is there anything else that wants to come through on the integration? These here, because I'm looking in the book that I originally wrote with them just to see if there's any messages. So with the Crystalline chakra activations, in there, if you haven't bought them, there's a set, obviously the crystalline chakra activations, and they activate that crystalline energy that enables you to hold this high frequency, especially as we come in leading up to and over December 21st, 2020. Now, like I keep saying, when the draconian being came through to me back in June, July for the world prediction update, when he came through, he didn't actually say the 21st. I didn't even know about the 21st at that point. He actually said between the 25th of December and the 1st of January, a super high frequency is going to come through. In March, we said in February 2021, he said, get ready, be prepared. And I was like, for what? And that's when I saw all the supermarket trolleys abandoned in the car park. And I was like, okay, what does that symbol represent? Now, is it going to be good, bad? I'm not sure. But from March onwards, I feel like it's got to be pretty intense, right? So we want to be prepared. Now, the reason that I'm sharing this is because that super high frequency that is like coming into our planet at that time, you know how I say there's like the 3 days, like 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, these points of like, it kind of hits reality, or, you know, when you're releasing an addiction, be mindful of the 3 days, the 3 weeks, the 3 months, the 3 year point, because it has a, it'll come back up in a way. Or it can be harder at those points, yeah, on the 3 mark. There's also others, but that's a big one. And so when we look at the high frequency that is coming into the planet on that 25th of December to the 1st of January, specifically, of course, like, you know, energy doesn't really work on Gregorian time calendars on Earth. So it might be the side that we're definitely really feeling it. I feel like we will all the way up through the end of January, to be honest. I feel that it will be that strong. This like portal, it's like almost 3 months coming into that March aspect, yeah? And the reason I'm sharing this is because the crystalline chakra activations enable our body to integrate, shift and change chemically, molecularly, like molecular structurally, to be able to hold that super high frequency. So there's a lot of like, you know, there's very different energy to the meditations that I've ever created before. Now, the reason I'm also sharing that is because in the crystalline chakra activation kit that you can buy in the set, there's also a bonus that I've put in there. And that is literally from this integration. I've pulled up the throat, so maybe there's throat stuff going on about living the truth. But in each of those, there is what I call the diagnostic charts. And in the diagnostic charts, oh, it's back to front, you can't read it, I'll read it out. But it's basically the crown chakra and the negative and the positive aspect. The third eye, the negative, the positive aspect. But what it is how the throat chakra relates to the crown chakra, or how the throat chakra relates to the third eye chakra, or how the the throat chakra relates to the ear chakras. And we go through like that. Now, this is a relationship that, speaking your truth, has to do with your relationships, your third eye. This is a relationship that your throat chakra has with your ears about living the truth of what you're hearing, for example, right? So, for example, in the throat chakra, the negative aspect to the crown, or the negative relationship, so to speak, is not allowing individual thoughts, and they're being repressed. Ideas are stuck in repetitive cycles. So the throat chakra is relational to the crown chakra by not allowing those thoughts, as repressed, yeah? Ideas are stuck in the repetitive cycles because it's like, that's the relationship, the negative aspect that the throat can have on that. So the same truth going over and over and over again, no like expansion, right? The positive aspect that the throat has to the crown chakra is open to new ideas and allowing them to be expressed in their unique individual ways, yeah? So for example, let's move into another one. I'm going to pick one randomly. So we've got the sacral chakra, how the sacral chakra relates to the crown, or the sacral chakra relates to the third eye, or sacral chakra relates to the ears, and so forth. So let's look how the sacral chakra relates to the ear chakras, okay? So the sacral chakra, when in the negative aspect. So when the sacral is unable to support the ears, the feminine aspect is shut down. The masculine aspect of self heavily dominates. Kind of interesting, right? So the sacral chakra is unable to support the ears, and therefore the ears shut down. The masculine aspect of the self heavily embodies. Remember, at the sacral chakra, we're like embodying. We come into, we're connected to our soul there. So the sacral chakra, positive aspect to the ear chakras is the sacral and ears being more receptive chakras, they're both feminine chakras, the sacral sustains the ears in opening by the sense of nourishment that it feels. The ears in turn nourish the sacral at the deepest level of the soul when they are open. Does that make sense to you guys? You can feel it, right? So the sacral, both open, like they're both receptive, they're both feminine. The sacral sustains the ears, because remember at the sacral chakra, we're talking about the sustaining joy. It's where we're plugging into for the sustaining source, not the quick fix addiction, trying to fill up and we eat and eat and eat until we're not even hungry, but we can't get full. Like, you know, it's like not that deep nourishment of contentment or any addiction, right? It's it's a very quick fix. It's not the self-sustaining long-term fuel. Like we don't feel content, right? But when the sacral's in balance and it supports the ear chakras with that sense of nourishment, and therefore it opens, and in turn the ears nourish the sacral because we're opening to receive the messages from our soul. So you can see how powerful working with these diagnostic charts are, and this is one of the bonuses that I've put into the Crystalline Chakra activation. So if you've bought the Crystalline Chakra activations and you haven't downloaded the PDF in there that's got all this beautiful information on there, it allows you to really have that deeper relationship with all of your chakras, yeah? So we're really enabling not just like the chakra consciousness of the third eye or the ears or that. It's literally like we're going so deep. It's like this and 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 this, yeah, on all of them. Yeah, it's all of that. So it's all of a sudden, it's like we become activated in this whole sense of completeness, rather than, oh yeah, just the third eye and just the ears and just the throat and just the heart. Like it's a pretty deep activation that enables this intimate relationship. Like if you think of our nervous system, for example, or our brain and the neural chemistry, like the neural pathways that fire off, the different chemicals and the hormone balance, like it's a very, 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 very intricate system, right? And somehow that all works together. Our chakras are kind of like our brain and our, you know, our skeletal system or our lymphatic system, like in a way. And then the relationship that each of them has is literally like our entire body working in the magic that it does somehow, in the miraculous chemistry makeup that it is, right? And so when we can bring our chakras into this deep relationship with each other, we work at high capacity. When I say high capacity, it's like high frequency. We're really switching on dormant aspects of ourselves to enable us to stay connected to ourselves, to our purpose, to source, and to hold that high frequency that shifts other people just by our presence, yeah? So if you haven't got the Crystalline Chakra activations, you can grab them. The link is in the title of this live stream, or you can find it on my page. You can also find it on my website as well, or send me a message if you can't find it. Be mindful over this next week. Just notice what comes up, and if you need support, post in the Reality Awareness support group with what is surfacing for you, whether it's, you know, something every day, like the chakras, you're like, yeah, I'm really noticing this chakra everyday thing, or actually I'm like deep in the heart chakra, Hannah, or you're like, actually, like I feel pretty balanced and everything in my reality is shifting to match that, yeah? Or things could be just falling away and I'm not even doing anything, Hannah, because it's literally just disintegrating. And I want to say disintegrating in a sense of like when we can really feel into what I just shared around each of the chakras, and then activating the relationship between each of them in that deep, intricate consciousness that allows us to be, you know, that full, connected, high frequency, total switched on being, right? When we can allow ourselves to be that, we step into a total different frequency. It's not just activating our chakras, it's the entire relationship, it's the whole body Just like our physical body is this amazing, miraculous piece that works in mind-boggling ways, right? So when we're activated in this full sense of who we are, things are going to shift out of our reality because they're not switched on like this, I guess you could say. Some things will automatically be activated and rise with you, and others will fall away. Yeah. All right, if you guys need any help at all, please comment below through the integration, or come and post in the Reality Awareness support group on Facebook. If you're not in that group, you can type into the search bar on Facebook, the Reality Awareness support group, and I can add you in there. It is a free support group to deeply support you with stuff that you're going through in your spiritual awakening or anything, because it's deeply connected. Your spiritual awakening is connected to your life purpose, and our life purpose is connected to everything in our life, because that's why it's called life purpose. So come in there if you need support. If you think this live stream can help somebody, please comment below, or you can type their name in the comments below, or you can share it with them in a private message. You can share it on your page. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe, and I shall see you guys soon. Mwah.